Today's Dallas Cowboys report is made possible by our friends over at Manscaped. They're giving you 20% off and free shipping on all of their products, including the new Boxers 2.0, the Lawnmower 4.0, and everything on their site, when you use promo code COWBOYS at manscaped.com. Check the comments section and the description. That link is in there. A jam-packed Cowboy show for you guys today with training camp finally here. The first practice later today. We've got the latest on a potential Cole Beasley reunion thanks to Cole himself. Some PUP List, NFI List injury news. Some really big details on that. Make sure you stick around for it. Jerry Jones's comments on Mike McCarthy and the future of Dalton Schultz. Some comments from Stephen Jones we'll get into on today's show. We begin with the latest on Cole Beasley, the unsigned free agent, aging but can still be, I think, a veteran slot receiver for a team. Well, he has publicly expressed interest in playing for the Cowboys to play again with Dak Prescott. Beasley was released by the Bills, technically, I guess, last year at this point, last offseason. Here's what Beasley tweeted out yesterday. Roy White had mentioned, I wonder if he would even want to be a Cowboy again. And Cole says, to play with Dak, I would. Now remember, things did not end that well between Cole Beasley and the Cowboys. We'll spend some more time on that, I'm sure, in the future. Things just didn't go that well. Cole said some things on his way out. The Cowboys didn't make a great offer. Things were not great, but Beasley at least is open to a return. Now, I will say this. It is almost August. Cole Beasley has not been signed. There has been no reports of his interest. I think he'd play for any 32 teams in the NFL. I think that's what's really going on here. And a large part of that is the regression that Cole Beasley has undergone, especially this past year. You can look at the catches, the targets numbers, almost the same, but look at the yards drop-off. From 967 to 693 as Stephon Diggs gets more involved. Gabe Davis stepped up down the stretch. Emmanuel Sanders, also a free agent, by the way, got plenty of run with Buffalo. He was only an underneath guy. At age 33, he's not a dynamic football player anymore. But the Cowboys are in the market for wide receiver help. Michael Gallup, Ontario Drummond, beginning of the year on the PUP list, at least in terms of the training camp, maybe some preseason run as well. You're banking on Jalen Tolbert emerging. Maybe you use CeeDee Lamb as an outside or a slot. Beats is a slot-only guy. So if you're going to make Lamb a full-time outside receiver, there could be room for that type of player. Plus, you've got a bunch of total unknowns at the back end of the wide receiver room. So do you want Cole Beasley back in Dallas and with the Cowboys? Be honest with me. Type in Y for yes or type in N for no. This is going to be the pinned comment on today's show, so if an ad break comes here on YouTube, boom, perfect timing. Head down there and type in your Y or your N. Now, at this point, Cole Beasley is, and he's always been this, I know, but he's only a slot receiver. He cannot play on the outside, and frankly, he's not a vertical slot threat either in the same way a Christian Kirk or a Lamb can be. He's underneath stuff only. You're not going to ask him to do a bunch of deep ins and digs and or verts. It's just, there are not going to be any slot fades run. And I don't know if the Cowboys want a pure slot. Look at what they've added at receiver this year. They have not focused on the slot receivers. They've typically gone guys who can play inside out or outside only guys. Maybe one of the biggest arguments in favor of Cole Beasley is he could be a punt returner for you. He can at least field your punts because you don't want Lamb or Diggs back there. So maybe it's Jalen Tolbert. I think we'll know more about that as camp moves on in terms of how comfortable things are at the punt return position, and also how the team feels about the wide receiver room overall. I don't think a move's going to happen right now, but if we get a week or two in and the receiving core is not playing well, start to make some sense. I also wonder this, if things are okay between the two parties. How to put this delicately? Beasley did not end on a good part. He's also unvaccinated. Now, that's not nearly as big a deal as it was last year. He was very outspoken. I think Amari Cooper's unvaccinated status and the Cowboys' viewpoint of if you weren't vaccinated, you weren't being a good teammate, that could be a negative in favor or against Cole, I should say. Plus the age. I don't think the vaccination stuff is that big of a deal, but things didn't end that great between Cole and Dallas. I think he could be on their list. I'd say probably not, though, in the end. Now, it is the very hot summer these days in Dallas, and if you're like most people, you might have some crotch discomfort down there. That is what Manscaped's Boxers 2.0 are built to avoid. The most comfortable boxer briefs out there, I promise you. Sleek, soft, comfortable, and flexible. The brand new Boxers 2.0 from Manscaped. Take your balls to the royal ball throne. And they've got the Lawnmower 4.0 because, pro tip, if you keep things nice and trim down there, a little bit less swamp stink, and nobody wants that, especially not your girl. So head over to manscaped.com and use promo code COWBOYS for 20% off and free shipping on the Lawnmower 4.0, the Boxers 2.0, and all of their fantastic men's grooming products at manscaped.com, promo code COWBOYS. Let's hit some injury news that came out. Big ups to the Cowboys for not announcing this till after I got back from my trip out of town. As expected, Gallup has been placed on the active PUP list. Now, this is important. This is not the reserve PUP list. To begin training camp, you go on the PUP list, you still count on the 90-man roster, and it opens up the flexibility for if you're not ready to go week one, you can go on the reserve PUP list and then come back after a few weeks. Otherwise, you have to go on IR. So this is just step one. It means he'll miss at least some of the preseason camp, which we already knew was going to be the case. So this is expected. Does not mean he's going to miss a bunch of time. Not a guarantee. We're still hoping for he's back after 3 weeks. The goal for the Cowboys is to keep Gallup off of the reserve PUP list. This is the active one for camp in the preseason. Expected, not panic, not worth panicking over. This was always going to be the case. So I want you guys to make a decision. And what you say there, Doc? Jeremy, you got your Bugs Bunny in you today. Or that's actually, what's up, Doc? What week, that would have been better for me, that's the title. What week will Michael Gallup return to action? Week 3 has been their target date. Keep him off of the 4-week reserve PUP list. Make your predictions, though, for me right now in the comments section. Other Cowboys who are on the PUP/non-football injury list. These 3 names, undrafted free agents, Ontario Drummond, Quandre Mosley, and Aaron Hansford, all were relatively surprising updates from that standpoint. Don't know what's going on injury-wise with those players. I bet we'll get some updates after today's practice wraps up. Unfortunate, it puts them behind the 8 ball to make up some ground and push for a roster spot. Damone Clark also expected here, the NFI list, because his neck injury was back in college, so he goes on that list. I doubt he plays this year, maybe back end of the year, but I think that's a bit unlikely. The good news, though, that's it. The only 5 players on the PUP/NFI list not included is Jabril Cox, as he was not placed on that PUP list, meaning he is a full go for training camp following his ACL tear. That is a big deal because the Cowboys need him. The hope is that he makes a big-time step forward. Obviously, Devontae Bond is out for the year with injury. Hansford's now going to miss at least some time. Benefits guys like Devin Harper, Story Jackson. Now I start to see why they added both Malik Jefferson and Christian Sam. If Hansford could miss some potential time there. But that's a big deal for Cox. The expectation is a true breakout season for the second-year player out of LSU. I know I speak for most people, and I'm excited for him. So, we are launching officially the hashtag CoxOut campaign here on the Cowboys Report. We want a Jabril Cox breakout season. Spam those 2 words together. It's CoxOut. So spam that for me in the comments section with the spelling correctly. Otherwise, I think YouTube might break it. But CoxOut right now in the comments. Totally not dirty. Today's show, after all, Manscaped sponsor. Mike McCarthy. Let's talk about what Jerry Jones had to say at his State of the Cowboys press conference, whatnot. Jones again backed McCarthy as the Cowboys head coach right now. Here's what Jerry had to say. Quote, I want to be real clear. He wouldn't be sitting here today. Oh, let me do the Jerry voice. Sorry. I want to be real clear. He wouldn't be sitting here today if I didn't think he was the man to lead this team to a Super Bowl. He would not be. And I have choices. That's not meant to be insensitive to anybody. That's a fact. You guys write a lot about of these choices, and they were there for my use had I wanted. And no, the guy to my right is the guy I'm convinced about. Have been. Are you, Jerry? Jerry was also, by the way, funnily enough, asked, well, if you're so confident in him, why don't you have a contract extension for him? And Jerry goes, we got years left on that deal. I think for now, Jerry believes in Mike, but like all 32 NFL teams, he's their guy. Their head coach is the guy until he's not. And I think we all know the reality. He's on the hot seat. We can say all the right things publicly, but we know the truth. It's win or not for Mike McCarthy. So what is your confidence level in Mike McCarthy? Scale it for me 1 to 100. Sound off in the comment section in terms of what the future looks like for McCarthy. There was a great little message from Jeremy early on. He's like, this is the equivalent of your girl asking you, do you even love me? And your response is, of course I love you. I'm here, aren't I? That's where we're at with McCarthy and Jerry Jones. We know, shout out Jeremy for the great analogy, we know that they're fine together right now, but there might be some issues down the road. And you know that's going to be a constant storyline around the Dallas Cowboys, so make sure that you are subscribed. YouTube.com/Cowboys TV. We know after every loss, Sean Payton drama. But we'll also not just talk about that. We got all the training camp coverage you want. We've got you guys covered. Hit that big red button right now. Let's talk Dalton Schultz now. Stephen Jones said he wanted to keep Schultz as a long-term Dallas Cowboy, but it just didn't quite work out. They tried, which is literally what he said. Quote, we tried. He represents everything we wanted a Dallas Cowboy on and off the field. Jerry talks about being available. Dalton's available. Game in, game out, week in, week out. He's an available player who plays at a high level. So not that we didn't want him on a long term. It's just about getting to the right answer on that. I think ultimately we will. I think Dalton's going to be a long-term Cowboy here. It just didn't work out to get the long-term part of that this time around. I'll say this. If you do work out a long-term deal with Schultz, I think you messed up not doing it this year. It would have saved money, but that's the Cowboys' MO. So make your predictions next year, whether it's extension or franchise tag or new deal, whatever. Will Dalton Schultz be a member of the Cowboys in 2023? Type in A for yes, or you can type in B for no. I feel like available is a good way to describe Schultz. Like, he's on the field, he's healthy, and he's often open. Although I do wonder how that could change this year without Amari Cooper, without Mount Gallup to start the year, without Cedric Wilson, if there's going to be more focus on Schultz. Does that mean more plays for him that result in a higher average, or is he just covered more frequently? The Cowboys have no other viable options for now, at least, at tight end. Maybe Jake Ferguson emerges. I wonder if he needs just some more time to acclimate as a fourth-round pick. Sean McEwen, Jeremy Sprinkle, Peyton Hendershot, Ian Bunting. Yeah, they're leaning on Schultz heavily this year. For the time being, Schultz will make $10.93 million, and next year, I would wager that one of Hunter Henry, Jonnu Smith is cut and not counting among the top 8 highest-paid tight ends, although a Darren Waller deal, I'm sure, will be coming in the near future for the Raiders or somebody else. So Schultz's baseline is going to be $12+ million this year. I don't think a deal gets done, but hey, if he balls out, I'm happy to be wrong on that front.